Hello, everybody. Welcome to the solo slot tonight. Excuse me, my voice is going. And yeah, so we're just going to do a very short solo one tonight, probably half an hour-ish. To be honest with you, today's been one of those days where I seem to have like a delayed kind of like COVID thing, really. I just suddenly now just gone completely, really exhausted and everything. But don't worry, we'll do a live show, don't you worry. You'll get a performance out of me. So what are we going to be talking about tonight? Well, I thought what we'd do is we'd get some mileage in on, he said, trying to bring the image up. Oh, for goodness sake. As always, as soon as you start going live, there we go. That's what we're looking for. There we go. I thought we would try and play some catch up on the Airfix Spitfire that I've been building, the big 24 scale Mark 1, the original Mark 1. So I thought we'd go through that tonight and see where we are and try and get a few things moved forward on it. As you can see, the box doesn't fit under the camera. So we'll just empty a few bits and pieces out. That's not needed. And see where we are. Oops. Now, I get the feeling that I'm going to have to deal with the wings and the gun bays tonight. Now, do I want to display the gun bays open? Not really, no. So I think we are going to be more gluing all those bits shut because, I don't know, I know it's a feature of the kit, but unless you're really going to go to town and detail these things, they just look a bit kind of like anonymous. Let's get my oh goodness me. Let's get my teeth in. Right, they look a bit anonymous, so we're not going to bother using any of those bits. We're just going to glue the covers shut on them. So let's crack on, shall we? I will say that to everybody in a minute. I just need to get this all up and running. So let's have a look. Who has decided to give up their precious evening to watch this nonsense tonight? We've got, let's have a look. We've got Dougal McWiggle, Dave Swindon, John P. Huston, Adam Cooper, Mark Ryan, David Mummery, Michael Hooverling, Ian Goldstraw, Lee Suter, Greg Woodbridge, Travis Thompson, John Patrick Huston, Mike Reeves, hello Michael, Dave Fleming, Glenn Broman, Peter Oxley. I'll come back to that comment in a second, Peter. Colin Strachan, Tim Maunder, hello Tim, Dave Cow, Jeff Baker, Paul Brown, Jerry Dawg, Dan Wood, and Mike Williams. Yeah, let's just go back to Peter Oxley's comment here, and he says, "Hi JM, I too have had COVID symptoms repeating despite now testing negative this week. It seems to keep coming back. I know how you feel." Well, I did a test yesterday and it's still coming through as a positive, so fine. But I felt I was kind of getting a bit better, and energy levels seem to be returning or whatever. And I've been working. I've been, not much I can do. But today has just been an absolute struggle. It really has been, and I can feel whether or not it's like a secondary infection or whether I've now managed to catch a cold, but I can definitely feel that feeling that I've got a bug somewhere. So anyway, we'll we'll sort it one way or the other. I'm going to do ghost stories after this, so that'll cheer me up. Yeah, it's a weird one. This really haven't not something I'd like to go through again, quite frankly. And I'm not very good when it comes to getting bugs and stuff and whatever. So anyway, let's switch to the workshop here. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to try and get a number of annoying little things out of the way. And we've got some little bits of admin we've got to do in order to close the wing up. So there are things like the brackets to lock the undercarriage in place. Although I think I can probably glue the undercarriage legs in, or rather fit them afterwards. So let's have a look, shall we? Let's have a look. It's the logistics of trying to sort things out here. I mean, on the plus side, I actually do have a bit of energy to sit in the workshop tonight, which hasn't been true the last week or so. And I can't find my undercarriage legs. Oh, for goodness sake! Come on, let's get this. There they are. There they are in all their basic glory. So they literally just slot in like that, which is fairly rudimentary. Or is it that way around? Oh, come on. It is that way round. So there we go. Doesn't seem to be a fairly positive location for these things. Ah, there we go. Now that's is that it? Nope. Lol. Oh, that's annoying. Well, I can't figure that out. I cannot. Oh, there we go. We managed to break something. That's good. Right. Plan B. We're not going to bother with the working feature. We're not going to bother with any of that. We're just going to glue these things shut and let's get on with it. I knew there'd be a little bit of a problem with this this undercarriage, but well, we'll work our way around it. So let's try and work out where we are. We have okie dokie, right. Sorry, I'm just trying to work things out here, folks, and thinking aloud and everything. Going back to Sunday night's show, certainly we've had some more information come through on the Armour Aerocobra, and I got to say that looks absolutely gorgeous. So we are hoping to feature that on the show at some stage, and also have one of the chaps from Armour actually joining us on the air as well, which would be good. So looking forward to that. Goodness me, you can tell I haven't done anything in the workshop for a while because my brain is absolutely frozen solid here. Right, so let's have a look. We're looking for part number 95. I can't see it. It's going to be one of those building sessions tonight, folks. Watched on Wednesday night. Watched a confused man from Dudley trying to build a model. Obviously, honestly, it was painful. It was almost as if he'd never made one before. Which at the moment, that's genuinely what it feels like. Yeah, I know what I'm going to do. Let's get these covers on. Now, bear in mind, what I've got here are the instructions for the Mark 1, Mark 5 rather. So I am going to be kind of hoofing it around a bit. But there we go. Let's have a look. Got some bits and pieces here. So we need to get these covers on. So let's go for a 27. If I can find it. 112. There we go. 112. There it is there. Yeah, I've got to get my modeling mojo going here, folks, because we're coming up to just over a month now until Scale Model World, which I'm supposed to be going to, and I'm going to be doing demos down there for the hobby company. So I've got to have my bring my A game to the show, quite frankly. Which after 3 years away, it's going to be interesting being back in the mix there. Although we did do We Have Ways Fest last year, so I have been back to model shows in, doing demos and things in the last kind of like, COVID, since COVID hit. But it's going to be very strange being there, and we're only doing the Saturday and the Sunday. We're not doing 2 nights. We're just doing 1 night. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know people are going to say to me, "Well, what are you worried about now? You've had COVID, Well, still not an experience I'd like to repeat. Thank you." So, right, there we go. Let's try to get these gun panels to seat a bit better than they do. So I think what we are going to have to do is, that is, good word this, recalcitrant. That is recalcitrant. So you've got fairly large things to jam in there, but doesn't seem to want to go. Right, let's trim the sides down a bit more again. Gordon J says Qatari kit, 32nd scale Spitfire Mark 1 is going to be retailing in the UK for about £109. Yeah, I'd say all things considered, I think that's a fair price for what is going to be a really quite substantially detailed 32nd scale Spitfire kit. Now, obviously we're living in an era now where model kits are definitely luxury items. And I'm always mindful of the fact that people have got to feed their families and put fuel in their cars or whatever. So our hobby is very much a disposable item pastime. But having said that, I don't think £109 is too much to ask, given that this is Wingnut Wings quality, really. So we'll wait and see. I'm sure some people will disagree. I know there are people who think that these kits shouldn't sell for more than £25, but I don't think you're going to have a market that can sustain those kinds of artificially low prices. So I'm afraid everything moves forward, folks, and nothing more so than the cost of this hobby. So let's try and get this panel. What you do on Wednesday night? I watched a confused man from Dudley spend literally an hour trying to get a panel to fit onto a wing. Do you know what? That is pretty good, that. I'm just having a look to see how it's... Actually, when I look at it head on, it's pretty much flush. But it's not quite what I want. So We'll take a bit off the sides, I think. So yeah, that Qatari Spitfire is going to be a real kind of highlight this year. It'd be nice if they've got them at Telford. I was hoping, it hasn't turned up today, but hey ho, it's en route, is my AMT Starship Enterprise, the original kit. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that, because that's, as I said, that's an itch I've been meaning to scratch for many years now. I actually had a copy of that kit back in the 70s. It was an Aurora boxing, but I just didn't want it. I just like, no, don't want to build a Starship Enterprise. So we swapped it. I think we swapped it for an Airfix Short Sterling in the end. And down the years, I've seen articles. I've got that Calmback book on making spaceships and stuff, which I originally had years ago. That's better. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. And that had a feature in there on building the Enterprise and whatever. And I just remember seeing it was a very neat build. And it was also the fact that they were airbrushing it and, you know, all this kind of fancy schmancy stuff that I couldn't do at the time. So it's one of those things that down the years, it's kind of stayed with me, that I keep thinking I would like to have a crack at that one day. And so having found one at a good price, I just thought I'd go for it. Oops. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to do anything clever with it. I'm not going to do any scribe or anything like that. It's just literally, I'm going to build it from the box as it would have been built back in the 60s. I'm just going to try and do a reasonable paint job on it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's fine. That's nestled down really nicely. So we'll see what we did with that one and do that one again. Let's have a look at the comments here. Yeah, Gordon says Qatari are listed to be at Telford. Excellent, right? Jolly good. Mike Williams says, I have seen that Hobby 2000 are releasing the Hasegawa 140X Harrier GR7/9, which is a bit of a bargain at £29.95. That is a bargain, Mike. That really is a bargain. Steve Moore says he's got one on pre-order with Jadlam. John Patrick Huston says, I bought an Airfix Sterling for £7 on Sunday at St Ives show. Ah, there we go. That's a good price. Yes, obviously people commenting on you know, the exchange rates and whatever. So yes, we'll I think we're all going to have to wait to see. So and Anthony the Bird said it's the decent Hasegawa one in the box. Yes, the Harrier, Mike's Harrier is the Hasegawa one. So yeah. We'll just have to wait and see for Telford. You know, it's going to be the first one for me back after you know the COVID pandemic. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure I'll be fine. I mean, now I've had the damn virus. You know, I'm kind of like, I should be kind of slightly less fearful, but that doesn't mean I'm not. But anyway, I'm booked in middle of October, Saturday, on the 15th of October. I'm booked in for my double bill of my COVID booster and my flu jab. So I'm going to try and stay out of trouble between now and then. So let's have a look. Let's get another panel. So this is 113. I mean, I'd like to. Part of me thinks perhaps I should display some of the panels open and showing the guns and everything, but you know what? I need to get this thing built, and I think if I start getting sidetracked with things like that, it just becomes too much of a you know, a distraction, frankly. So we'll just build it as is. Although I am doing the engine, so I'm obviously a huge, great hypocrite there. So that's right. Top tip, folks. Anybody who's building this old Airfix kit is when you're putting, if you want to glue the gun panels closed, make sure you go around all the edges with a sanding sponge just to level them all up and get rid of any bumps and things or whatever, because that has now gone in there, and that's seated down really nicely. Almost can't see the join. So yeah, well, I thought tonight, what shall I do? What project shall I kind of like sit at the workshop tonight and do some bits and pieces on? I was looking at, obviously I got the Airfix Austin ambulance that I need to paint, but that's fairly straightforward now. And I was looking at my Italeri Ford Escort, the Zaxby one, but I thought, no, we are Airfix Autumn, so we do need to get on with this really. So I thought if we get some bits and pieces done on this, then then we can kind of like, then we can do other things as well. So anyway, Miss Steve Moore says, anybody fancy meeting up at Cosford on the Friday before Scale Model World? Ordinarily, Steve, I would. Ordinarily, we we come up on the Friday, and we always like going into Cosford Museum and bumping into people who we're going to see at the show. Perhaps we'll do that next year. We're kind of traveling up early Saturday morning, so yeah, we're just doing one night. That's it. But and Peter Oxley says, JM, having the virus right now could make you super immune for Telford. Well, you'd hope so, but the problem I've got is it's whether I seem to be picking up kind of secondary infections at the moment, which is really it's why I've been trying to avoid catching COVID in the first place. So it's kind of like long COVID thing, and I think my immune system's taken a bit of a battering in the last week, so I just need to kind of stabilize it, so to speak. But we'll wait and see. It's like I say, at the moment I can feel like I'm about to come down with a cold. And you have that kind of like weird head thing, and the sense of taste starts going, and that's exactly how I feel. Anyway, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Right, that's, oh, blimey, that is, now you see that is a shocker. That one won't sit there at all. Probably sits a little bit, sits better the other way around. Oh, there we go. That's click. Actually, that's pretty good. Now it's gone in there. Just suddenly felt it click. Yeah, that'll do. We'll glue that on. Now that's also that Enterprise kit. This is going back. Oh, the wibbly wobbly time machine. But this is going back to 1970. And when I had my Airfix Spitfire that I got for my birthday, and my Aurora Styracosaurus, and I seem to remember, what did my grandparents buy me? I think my grandparents, I can't remember if they bought me some lifelike dinosaurs, which is always one of the great misnomers of the age, because the lifelike range was anything but lifelike. They were actually quite kind of like shockingly bad models, but at the time I thought they were awesome. But I seem to remember that was the year that my grandparents, because Jonathan likes dinosaurs, so they said, oh, there you go, we've got in this dinosaur. What did they get me? They got me the Aurora glow-in-the-dark Godzilla. Good grief, that thing gave me nightmares. It was just, it was horrific. The box art, because it's the glow-in-the-dark version, the box art is especially nightmare-inducing. And yeah, that did get swapped for something because I couldn't. It really was horrible, and it was years later when I finally came kind of like face to face with the box art again, and I gotta say, for a brief second, I could remember why it scared me, and I could understand why it scared me. It's really quite a disturbing piece of artwork. Right, that is not. This one here is not playing ball. So we need to figure out why it's not playing ball. Oh, is it that? Is it that one there? Let's make sure I haven't tried gluing the wrong one in there. 120, 118. No, 118 is there. That's 119, 117. Oh, well, let's just have a look. Well, that really doesn't want to sit in there. And it doesn't want to sit there either. Right. So a think for a moment, folks, because I'm sure that is the right one I'm trying to get in there. I think part of the problem with these older Airfix kits is that the parts numbers are kind of like molded onto the sprues here, but they end up being sometimes they can be quite indistinct, and you're trying to kind of like work out, well, is that part 118? That's a part 119. 117, 120, 118, 119. Right, so they're all good. And then 120. So it's going to be one of these ones. No, that ain't going. So let's pare it down a bit, shall we? Downward says, speaking of nightmare-inducing, watched Quatermass and the Pit in its entirety yesterday after you guys were talking about it. I'm just glad the effects and acting were of their time, as that whole thing was pretty messed up. What did you watch, Dan? Did you watch the Hammer film with Andrew Keir and Julian Glover, or did you watch the television adaptation with Andre Morel? The Hammer film is still, I think it's genuinely the stuff of nightmares. And it is quite an unsettling film. And I think it's because they, it's set, it's that classic thing of horror is you take a location and an environment that you are entirely comfortable and familiar with, and then you introduce an element of the unusual. Now, obviously, if you make a horror film and you set it on board a spaceship, it can be scary, but nobody knows what it's like being on a spaceship. The same with, you can do a horror film and you can set it in a castle. We probably all know what castles are like, but again, we're not familiar with them in our day-to-day lives. You set it in an underground station, and yeah, that's something that can be genuinely disturbing. I'll give you a little bit of trivia for the film version of Quatermass and the Pit. At one stage, when they're in Quatermass's office, there are some models on the desk of various rocket designs that obviously the professor is working on. The models are actually repurposed Thunderbirds miniatures. So there's a Thunderbird 1 there, which has been kind of like messed around and extended and whatever, and a Thunderbird 4. And these are like the original priceless filming miniatures that somebody's just kind of pulled out of a skip and gone, oh, that'll do. We'll just give them a new paint job. That's it, So if ever you watch the film again, have a look for that sequence, because there are these Jerry Anderson models on the desk, albeit in a modified format. Colin Strachan says, my brother had the glow-in-the-dark Frankenstein's monster. The broken off foot found its way into my bedroom, which used to terrify me as a child. Yep. It's all. All right, Dan said it was the TV one, so I might watch the film one tomorrow in the sunshine. No, you got to watch it at night, Dan. You got to watch the film version of Quatermass in the Pit at night. Although I've got to say, it's not one which a lot of the Quatermass fans hold in great esteem, but I like the John Mills version, or the John Mills story, which ITV broadcast in 1979. That, I think that was probably my introduction to Quatermass in some respects, but I enjoyed it at the time because it was kind of like, again, it's that whole thing about stone circles and strange things going on, and and people being vaporized in the center of a stone circle. And it was years later that when we moved to Somerset, we actually live kind of like relatively around the corner from one of the most important stone circles in the country, actually, which is Stanton Drew. And then when Quatermass was on television again, it was quite weird because there were certain things in that story that suddenly reality had overtaken fiction. There was a famous incident in the 1980s called the Battle of the Beanfield, where the police clashed with New Age travelers trying to get access to Stonehenge. Well, that's literally what happens in Quatermass. And because I was reading up on kind of like folklore and stuff to do with stone circles and things and whatever, because I have an academic interest in it, it was great seeing that, and also Quatermass and the Pit. It's how much Nigel Neal steeps his stories in solid folklore and foundation. So it's he doesn't just kind of make it up. He actually kind of does the research, and that's what I like about his stuff. He's a bit of a miserable old curmudgeon, or he used to be, but he knows how to write a good story. So right, there we go. 4 covers on. Hurrah! We made short work of that. Well, as you can see, we were doing. You could see that we had a few fit problems there, which is understandable given the age of the kit, but a little bit of figuring it out and testing and retesting and whatever. Yeah, you can see that those have now gone on pretty much. They're good. I think you'd be hard pressed to even see that they were separate pieces on the kit. I think I will give them I will run a little bead of Mr. Surfacer around them, but beyond that, no, they're good. They're fine. Plus, having been around Spitfires and Hurricanes and things, you'd be surprised sometimes how poorly these panels fit, actually. Especially on on cows and things, that you can actually kind of run your finger into the gap between it. So I think sometimes we have this perception that aircraft are perfect in terms of their construction. Actually, no, especially older aircraft, they can be quite imperfect. So we got the here we go. Steve Moore says he personally hated Catweasel. And Wurzel Gummidge freaked me out. Yeah, I wasn't very keen on Wurzel Gummidge, even though I was, big Pertwee Who fan. Here we go. Are you feeling left out? Do you want to come up and join the party? Okay, yes or no? Coming up? 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Oh, God. Pathetic. Unbelievable. Right, come on. Come on, I'm not having you upstaging me like this. 1, 2, 3. No, he's not doing it. Let's have a look. He says, "How's the model going, JM?" This is Jim Altegart. How's the model going? It's going all right, actually. It just, like I say, it's an old kit. It requires a little bit of tender, loving care, really. You can't build something like this and just expect everything to to really kind of slot together perfectly as if it was a Tamiya kit. So I think you've got to come into these vintage kits with that kind of sensibility in mind, really. But you see, I've got this out here. I've got my Gerald Scarborough and Roy Cross book, which this occasionally I dip into this, and this becomes my inspiration. And it's fabulous these books. But I am looking forward to kind of cracking on with the Zack Speed Ford Escort. So I might do a little bit of work on that tomorrow. But I think tomorrow night we are going to put some paint on the. We're going to put some paint on the Austin. In fact, somebody did mention the Austin ambulance, and they said, where was it? It was. I'll find it in a second. Oh, it's in here somewhere. It's how was I getting on with it? No, that's not it. No, it's the Austin ambulance. I'm not doing the Cornter scheme on it now. It kind of like came to a conclusion last week that, do you know what? I'll do it as the Princess Elizabeth version. I think that'd be a nice nod, to Her late Majesty, and it's an easier scheme to paint, quite frankly. So that's the one I'm going to be doing. So that's going to be fun, because I'm going to be doing a little bit of weathering on it, but not to the extent that I would have if it had been, certainly not a desert one, but also doing a regular European one as well. So it is going to be, the weathering on it is going to be fairly restrained, which is no bad thing, because I do tend to sometimes throw the kitchen sink at tanks and military vehicles. So I think having a little bit of a modicum of restraint is no bad thing. So, goodness me, I always forget what it's like to work with large parts, and especially when you're building 72nd scale or 48 stuff. Well, I'm going to put those panels on tonight, but we are going to try and close up a wing in some respects. So what are we doing with this one? I suppose, well, should I? Yeah, I think I should actually glue. I think I should actually glue guns in place, even if we're not actually kind of going to be featuring them, so to speak, because we need to have something in there to actually show a gun. So so let's have a look. 80 and 81. I'm trying to think, how many of the big 24 scale kits have I built down the years, to which the answer is, surprisingly, more than I have imagined. 20 odd years ago, I did build 2 of the Harriers. Goodness me. Two Airfix 24 scale Harriers. I don't know what got in me. But yeah, I built two of them. That was the year that Trevor Snowden he was running the Airfix stand at the time, and he literally, the entire stand was just Harriers. We just did every single Harrier that was in the Airfix range. And I remember we were setting it up, and we were just like really, I think we were both kind of really impressed with how well it looked. Yeah, that was quite a show. That was, although as we were setting up, somebody came over and they said, they went, "Oh, Trev, there you go, you can borrow my model." And it was like, it was something, I can't remember what it was. It was like it was a de Havilland Mosquito, and Trevor was trying to kind of diplomatically say to them, "Yeah, we've got a whole stand of Harriers here. You know, what are we going to do with the Mosquito?" So yeah, that was a bit awkward. But it was a good. It was a really impressive kind of display, and I'll try and dig out some photographs of that at some stage. But yeah, I built two 24 scale Harriers, built a 48 scale one. I built a P1127 and an original Airfix GR1 in 72nd scale as well. So that was good. But yeah, building two Airfix Harrier GR1s, wouldn't recommend it. Especially trying to get them ready for Telford, that was a bit of a battle. But what I've also built down the years, I've built the Focke-Wulf 190. In fact, I built that one 20 odd years ago. Sorry, 20 odd years ago. That was about 25, 26 years ago. And I always remember that I built it, and then I couldn't get the engine to fit, which was apparently a notorious problem with that one. And then I built the Hurricane, which is a beautiful, beautiful kit. It really is. And I think that's it. I think it's just building this Spitfire. So I think of all the 24 scale kits that Airfix have done, the only ones I haven't built are the 109, which I'd love to build at some stage. I've never built the Mustang of the original, the original Airfix kit. I haven't built the big Mosquito. I haven't built a Typhoon. I haven't built a Hellcat, and I haven't built a Spitfire 9 because that's on its way. So yeah, I've built most of the old ones. Let's put it that way, the classic ones. But I think you've got to build one at least in your lifetime. Just like I say, it's kind of like an itch, and you've got to scratch it. So. Right, so I'm just trying to work out what I'm doing here, and I'm confusing these Mark V instructions because I've got more Mark I bits here to go on. So let's get these out of the way. And then we'll answer some of your correspondence. Right. Let's have a look. Mike Williams says, "I'm building the Airfix 72nd scale Beagle Basset. That needs some TLC and trimming and test fitting of parts before committing to gluing. I think it's originally from 1968 molds." It is, Mike, although the clear parts are brand new because the sprue for the tooling for the clear parts went AWOL somewhere. So we've got some new bits for that. I mean, goodness me, that kit, I'm trying to think. It was released as part of a club special, but that was back in the Humbrol days, I think. And they didn't bother doing a new decal sheet. So hopefully everybody's enjoying the new decal sheet in that kit. And Stuart Templeton says, "I picked up one of those kits to do same. I thought it would be a nice tribute. Also picked up a Queen's Flight Beagle Basset to build as the one King Charles flew as a teenager." I think that's the one thing about the vintage classics is that I hopefully at some stage they might have a bit of a leeway to start doing additional schemes with the kits, but I think at the moment they're just sticking to what's in the, obviously the box art. You've got to chime the kit in with the box art, and whatever original schemes were in the original release as well. That's the idea behind them. But I'd like to see perhaps some additional or new secondary schemes. That would be my feeling, but that's just me. That's what I'd like to see long term, but it's not my decision. So I'm just happy to do what they tell me to do. So, and I'm just, Steve Moore says, my father did the 24 scale Mustang and Harrier just before he gave up, as my own outfit was somewhat prolific. Yeah, well, Dad built the Spitfire for me, which was very kind of him. Yeah, thanks, Dad. Mike says, what's the Airfix 24 scale Stuka like? Apparently, an absolute belter. It was genuinely regarded by some of the magazines at the time as perhaps being one of the best aircraft kits ever produced. It's certainly, compared to the Spitfire and the Spitfire Mustang and the 109, the Stuka is absolutely chock full of detail. It is, I think somebody ran a survey in a model magazine. They said what, a qualification for the perfect kit, and the Airfix 24 scale Stuka won the poll. It was just seemed to be a superlative kit. And I gotta say, it is. I mean, it is absolutely brimming with detail. Dan says, will you have a go at the new Spitfire? I'd like to have a go at it, but to be honest with you, it's one of those things. I'd like to have a go, but I get the feeling so many people are going to be building that new Airfix Spitfire. I kind of think to myself, well, what can I contribute in terms of a finished model that a lot of other people will be doing much better anyway? So I'd rather kind of like do something else, just do. I know this time last year I ended up building the Airfix beach buggy, which was one of the biggest fun projects I've done in ages. So chances are I'll probably build something, but it'll be a vintage classic, just to be a little bit of a contrarian. And Jim says, after the Airfix ambulance, what will be your next armor/vehicle project? Probably still be the Airfix ambulance. What's the speed I'm building at the moment? Actually, he says, leaning over, I wouldn't mind having a crack at this and building this, and doing it with the figures and the everything over, and doing it like a little vignette, because that's again, that's going back to my childhood and whatever. But I get the funny feeling probably in the next couple of months I might end up with a Tamiya 35th scale Hellcat, or possibly well, not so much a Hellcat, but probably a 35th scale Comet. So keeping our fingers crossed on that one. And Steve Moore says, not forgetting JM, we were both floating around the Wokingham model scene back then. Yeah. That's a thing, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, Wokingham. What can I tell about Wokingham? Cording's Toy Shop, Cording's Toy and Model Shop. There were the news agents where you could get Airfix and Matchbox kits. There was. You walk up Wokingham High Street, there's literally kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about half a dozen places where you can buy models, including, there was a big supermarket there, which was the first time I came across Hasegawa kits, because they had all these. I remember that. I remember thinking I thought the name of the model company was Hales, because it had the AA Hales logo on it, and it was all these wonderful kind of like Japanese aircraft and Japanese sabers, and it was so massively exotic. But that was a supermarket in Wokingham that obviously got a distribution deal from Hales, who were doing Hasegawa at the time. So that was a hell of a memory, that was. And Peter says, I agree with Mr. Mark on the new 24 scale Spitfire. I'm going the Qatari Mark 1 instead, though trust the new FX kit will be fantastic. I think it will be. I think it is. I think people will be quite blown over by the new FX kit. I've got a set of test shots here, but I can't show them to you. But it's a bit like on, I'll tell you this much without getting into trouble, a bit like on the Hellcat and the Typhoon, they've got a little bit of that kind of canning effect going on some of the stressed skin and everything. So I think it's you know, it's up there. It does look absolutely superlative. Ivan says, will IMC be attending scale model? Yes, we will be, Ivan. We'll be on the fingers crossed, we'll be on the hobby company stand with our setup here, building things. So that'll be good fun. And Steve says, shows in the town hall. Yep. Oh, I can still smell that town hall. It's that heavy mahogany kind of wood and everything. It was a great venue, and that's where I got my IPMS. Perhaps I'll do that. I think Spence and I said on Sunday we might do a thing with formative magazines, and I think I might do that. I'll drag my IPMS special magazine out that I got from that model show at Wokingham, and we'll kind of go through that one, because that is really an absolutely kind of like a formative modeling experience for me, because that was pretty much the first model magazine I ever got, you know, and so many things in that sparked lifelong interests, like Messerschmitt Comets, like Grumman Martlets / Wildcats, things like that. So, and Ivan says, wonderful. Yeah, Ivan, we will be building models on the Hobbyco stand. So come along and say hello, or bring us cake, which is probably the even better idea. Simon Lewis says, how about an interesting modeling co t-shirt? Oh, is there going to be a festival of modeling this year? Probably won't be a festival of modeling this year, Simon, because the Scale Model World will be back in full flow. But we might do something. We might do a little kind of I don't know how to describe it. A modeling, a Christmas cornucopia modeling box of delights or something. So we'll see what we can do. Mike says, so as planning for 2023, where is a good place to stay? Well, probably, Mike, it's probably going to be the Holiday Inn, because that's the one that's right next door to the venue. So I would go for that, really. You know, that's the main one to go for. And Jim says, can I post pictures of my modeling products on the IMC Gmail account? I have a few I would like to share with the class. Yeah, Jim, fire them across to me. I'm sorry that we can't, at the moment, Facebook are still messing around with how you get to share things on the page, and it's, oh goodness me, I wish they'd make their minds up, because it is making as an experience for people like yourselves to be able to post your work on our page. The feature is working one minute, then the next minute it's gone, and it's like, make your minds up, Facebook. Come on, really. Yeah, and do we have an IMC t-shirt? I don't know. I'll have a think about it. We're going to try and have some goodies for the show in some way. But yeah, we'll see. We'll wait to see. We'll wait to see what we can do for Scale Model World. But yeah, we are doing some demos and things and whatever. So, oh dearie me, I've got to pack the old traveling workshop and get that ready for the show. Yeah, we were going to be doing We Have Ways Fest this year, but I think, as you might have heard, the booking fell through for one reason or another. So literally on the Friday before the show, we were getting ready to go, and then it was like, we're not going. So it's like, right, fine. Bit disappointed, but we'll try and resolve that issue for next year, and then we'll be back. Doing that as well, because I was chatting to Al Murray about that throughout the year and looking forward to seeing him and what we're going to talk about and this, that, and the other, and then it didn't happen. But hey ho, you comment on it, you comment on it, but you just don't dwell on it because there's no point. So anyway, right, I'll tell you what, we will push this aside for a moment because we are rapidly running out of time. He's been yakking too much again. Certainly my throat is very, very sore tonight, so I do need to go and get something for it. But we'll just go through where we are with the Zaxpeed. Isn't that a beautiful looking car? Where was I last time with the Zaxpeed? Well, where I was I was getting increasingly frustrated with the fact that Italeri seemingly just didn't have a kit and a set of instructions that actually made, any kind of sense. And although we've got sheets here with corrections and things and whatnot, what we ended up with was on the roll cage. And in fact, you probably see my written notes here. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. It just, there's whole sections of that roll cage are missing on the kit because they've gated off some of the parts and they weren't actually molded for this issue. So, how that can get through the system and nobody spotted it, I don't know. But hey ho, these things happen. Where are we with this? We've got some seats here. So I'll tell you what, we'll clean up a couple of seats and then that'll be it. We're gonna cut and run tonight, actually. But yeah, be nice to kind of be back in Telford, and I'm sure once I'm in the swing of things, I'll be fine. But I think I'll be honest with you, folks. The last kind of 2.5 years, things like this, going to shows which I would used to do, with no kind of like thought or, they were just second nature. We turn up at Telford, we get on with things. Since the pandemic hit, it's affected people in different ways. Some people are just like, it doesn't bother me. Just glad to be back into the swing of things. I'm slightly more kind of trepidatious, and find these big social events suddenly to kind of like be kind of hard work, really. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. There are things that I have been going to where I've been okay. I mean, I've been traveling up and down the West Somerset Railway, and I've been enjoying that. But it's a kind of like you're in it's a slightly different environment. You can get off the train after an hour. You're kind of like you're in control of where you are. Whereas Scale Model World, you're just kind of locked in a not locked in a venue, but you know what I mean. And I think the thing that I'm mindful of is that going back to Scale Model World, every single Scale Model World I've been to in the last 20 odd years or so, every time I've come back, I have come back with a bug. Now, okay, you're going to say, well, you don't have to worry about that now because you'd have been quadruple vaccinated, you've had COVID, your system should be absolutely running on, top performance now. But still don't like it. I still just don't like the idea of suddenly picking up another bug. So, but we try and stay positive, folks. We try not to dwell on these things. So we'll wait and see. The thing is, I think back to when I used to go to Telford and I used to kind of like turn up and, buying things and stuff and whatever. That's gone. I don't get any kind of don't get any kind of joy of buying things at shows anymore, which is I don't know why. I'm sure we'll have a discussion about this at some stage and try and get to the bottom of the psychology there. But yeah, I remember I came back from the very first one 30 odd years ago, and goodness me, 35 years ago, and my plastic carrier bags were heaving. Perhaps it's the realization that after 35 years, nearly 40 years of going to these shows, that these things, you buy these things, and then when you realize that after a couple of decades you're still no further forward in actually building them, that perhaps that starts to temper your, I don't know, your enthusiasm, your appetite for buying more and more kits. I don't need to buy any more kits, quite frankly, folks. I really don't. I need to get rid of some, in fact. But you know, it's one of those things. It's going to be an interesting experience. I think it's going to be, you know, I think it's going to be an examination of the soul to go to a show like that and just see how you get on with it and how you cope with it. And you know, it's we've got to dive back into the pool at some stage. So let's wait and see. Just if you see me sitting there looking a bit kind of like, just buy me a cup of tea and a cake. I'll be fine. So there we go. And I must admit, I'd like to come up for the Friday and have the mooch around Cosford, and you know, that's always, to me, that's part of the Scale Model World tradition. But it's unfortunately I can't get cover for Derp for 2 nights. I can only get cover for Derp for 1 night, and like I say, I'm not really up for doing 2 nights anyway. So best to ease ourselves back into Scale Model World gently, I think. Anyway, look, that's a pair of seats done. So that looks fine. Let's just do one more little bit on this, and then we're going to wrap for the night, I think, because my throat is very, very sore. And I'm also trying to work out, what have you done with these instructions, Italeri? Right, okay, they've got part 10 there. Jolly good. Let's just hope part 10 is actually on the sprue or the runners. And it is. There it is there. Excellent. Right, okay. We've got that part on there. Right, jolly good. But yeah, this apart from Italy's rather unhelpful instructions, I love these. I love these Ford Escorts. I just think they're beautiful cars. So yeah, we are going to get a wiggle on with this one and get this one done as well, because this has to be finished for Scale Model World. So yes, we are going to have to get goodness me, we are going to have to get a move on. I'm just thinking we've got just over 5 weeks until Scale Model World. These are 3 models that need to be finished. So that means pretty much 1 model kind of every 10 to 12 days that I need to finish, which when you start getting behind, that can start getting really kind of like worrisome, let's put it that way. But these are simple. We should be able to get these done. So anyway, right, that is it for tonight, folks. Like I say, it was a solo effort. It was solo, or as some people are probably thinking, it's so low as well. We should be back on Sunday, fingers crossed. I think Drew is off on tour, going to see bands. So I think Spencer and I, we did talk about perhaps doing a, we're going to look at some of our favorite magazines and magazine articles. So hopefully if Spencer's up for doing that, that's probably what we're going to do on Sunday, which should be good fun. I always like talking about classic modeling magazines from my youth. And I could just get the feeling we're going to be talking about scale models, really. That's it, you know. But anyway, so that is pretty much it for tonight. I'm just going to play, just going to have a quick check some things here. Steve Moore says, can we still get IMC badges for Scale Model World? Yep, Mike, Steve, don't you worry. The IMC badges are already packed up in the tool chest here. So there will be IMC badges on sale at the show. And we might have some other things as well, like some stickers. Actually, it was Moz Models. They did these lovely patches, and I thought those are good. I wonder how much it costs to get those done. So Peter Oxley says, Mr. Mock, can we please have the Interesting Modeling Co. Box of Delights Scary Music back for Christmas? Oh, yes, yes, we're having that back. Don't you worry. Oh, yes, that is... there is no way that is not being dragged out to give Drew nightmares this year. Might even just kind of like have a little kind of like a little ghostly Grogu in the background just to really kind of tip him over the edge there. But no, we are doing the Interesting Modeling Co. Box of Delights this year. I'll tell you what, it's actually just off on a tangent. One of the things I have been thinking about the last couple of years or so, and might seriously think about doing it for next year, is to actually do a bit like Spencer, he does his books and things or whatever, is to actually do an annual. So a bit like you used to get your annuals as a kid. And I got to say, a friend of mine bought me the Beano annual last year. It was hilarious. Honestly, the sophistication of the humour in the Beano these days is really smart. It's a really funny thing. But anyway, I like the idea of doing a modelling annual, a bit like the old Airfix used to do their annual every year. So it would be like a thing with some articles and some fun stuff, and and perhaps a quiz, which which bit of sprue is leading to which model. It would just be an absolutely silly little bit of ephemera, but hopefully with enough modeling content to make it worthwhile. So I'm having a look at that, and I'm seeing how practical that is for next year to do the Interesting Modeling Company Christmas Annual 2023. Can't promise anything, but it would be nice to do that. And yeah, just playing catch up on some of the comments here. Mike says, would you like some phase hanger swag? Well, Mike, there's the thing. I'm mindful of the fact that once I can get out of the house and go down to the post office, I've got to have a look at, keep this between me and you, Mike. Don't let everybody else know, because they'll all want one of these. What I am going to be doing is getting the postage date, so I can send you your box of Christmas goodies. But I am going to have to send them via the slow boat, because airmail postage now is ridiculous. It's horrific. So I am going to send you a little box of delights, in fact, of some various things, including mince pies and all these jolly nice things. So we'll see what we can do. But like I say, don't tell anybody else, because they'll all want a box then. So just seeing what else we've got here. Paul Milligan says, I love to shop for books and accessories mainly. Yeah, I think that's probably what I should be doing, is seeing what bargains are available at Scale Model World. Certainly not kits, not unless it's an offer. It's an offer I can't refuse, So we'll wait and see. Anyway, look, that's it for tonight, folks. I'm sorry this has been a slightly underpowered show tonight, because I am absolutely hanging here. But we should be back on Sunday. Until then, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've managed to take something away from this. Probably don't do a broadcast when you're suffering from COVID, but there we go. We'll be back on Sunday. So until then, as always, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you then. Bye for now.